Who's going first? Okay. Well, firstly, I just wanted to say, it's a real pleasure to be able to contribute to the 3PGC. I know that you guys kind of are tireless in your efforts to give of yourselves. I think everybody else has kind of other jobs and other organizations, and yet they put time and effort and energy into this just because they care about sharing these ideas with the world. And so thank you, Bonnie, and thank you everybody involved, and it's a pleasure to be able to do a little bit. I was just thinking today, I went to a funeral yesterday, on Tuesday. That was 2 days ago. And it's fascinating when you go to, as a rabbi, I guess I get to go to funerals, unfortunately, somewhat regularly. And you always see at a funeral that if you only went to funerals, you would think the world was populated with the most amazing people. I mean, it's just incredible what you hear at funerals about people. I mean, just such praise and such goodness and such, it's amazing to hear what people have to say at funerals. And I always kind of wondered, why would that be? Because if you'd have spoken to them the week before the person died, or 2 weeks before the person died, they're probably having an argument, and they're annoyed at them, and they're frustrated at them. In fact, in this particular instance, one of the people who was the son of the person who passed away, he was telling me that he's always told me that his father was no good, and he was terrible, and he did this and he did that, and he wasn't a good father, and he wasn't a good person, etc., etc., etc. And this father passed away just recently, obviously, and he's starting to get a bit of a different perspective, and he wasn't so sure anymore, and so many people had so much good to say about him. And I think that one of the reasons why, I think there's kind of a lot behind it, but I think one of the reasons why we see people differently when they pass away, and I think we do, is that we drop a lot of our expectations about them when they pass away. And I think when you drop your expectations about another human being, it lets you see deeper. It lets you see something more. I think that expectations limit us, limit our ability to see past the superficial in people. And so especially in relationships in particular, I think they're not so helpful, to say the least. So I just, in terms of expectations themselves, I'm assuming that kind of the audience here kind of has some level of background in the principles and understanding. So I'll try my best to keep it as simple as possible, but there is some level of assumption there. We talk in the principles world about the idea of an outside-in versus inside-out world. And expectations are very much outside-in. They're very much, they're based on a premise. There's a premise behind it, which is that the something out there can be helpful for me. Something out there can do something for me. My well-being, my happiness, my sense of who I am in life is dependent on something out there. And then if I don't get it, if it doesn't come to me, that's a frustrating thing for me. But there's a starting point, that there is something out there that's needed, that's required. Because if you didn't kind of have that premise, then you wouldn't have any expectations whatsoever, because you wouldn't be looking outside yourself for anything. And therefore, you can't have expectations if you're not looking outside for something, because that's what expectations are. And it's interesting to me, there's something that kind of always occurs to me. We live in a generation that kind of talks a lot about rights, people fighting for rights. And I think that rights are also an outside-in concept. It's the idea that kind of something in the world is, I need the world to be a certain way. The world should be a certain way. And if it's not, then I'm going to be lacking in my life. And one of the things we understand in the principles is, no, it's inside out. I have all I need. I have all I need to be okay. I have all I need to be happy. I have all I need to find my own well-being and to accomplish anything that I want to accomplish in my life. It's all here inside of me. It's all available. It's all there for me. The minute you start looking outside and, well, do I have my rights, and is this taken care of for me, and is that taken care of? To me, you're looking in the wrong direction. Now, the corollary, so to speak, of rights, which I think is very much a principles idea, is responsibilities. And I think that when we look to responsibilities, we do a lot better than when we look to rights. And I think sort of rights and expectations go together, and responsibilities and lack of expectations go together. So I look at as a parent, let's say, I look at what my responsibilities are. That's kind of how I see myself. And I don't have such expectations of my children, because my role is in the responsibility role. And you might think, well, that doesn't sound great. That sounds like hard work. And we were just saying earlier on that, our 5-year-old woke us up this morning at 4:30, came and jumped on our heads, basically. And it's not enough that he's awake. The whole house has to be awake as well. You can't just say, well, listen, Noe, you're awake and that's great. You want to get up at 4:30, that's your business. But go and do something. Go and go and watch something. Go and play with something. No. That's no good for him. The whole world's got to be awake as well if he's awake at 4:30. So if we're a little tired during this webinar, you guys will know why. But to me, I don't have expectations of him. I mean, you get upset in the moment, of course, but if he wants to get up at 4:30, that's okay. That's what kids do. That's what 5-year-olds do. And so because I don't have an expectation of that, I don't get upset when he does. I'm not going to get frustrated, and I think our frustration this morning was quite minimal, It's like, well, let's see if we can get him back to bed, and let's see if we can kind of, that was half an hour, and when we realized that wasn't going to work, then it's like, okay, well, he's up, and, let's see if we can get to sleep ourselves while he's up. That didn't work so well either, so then, well, I guess we're just going to have to be up, that's just life. And it's great. I love it when I have no expectations, because it's so freeing. It frees me up to kind of enjoy and live in the moment. If I can had expectations of, no, my children shouldn't wake up till 7 o'clock, when I wake up, then the minute he wakes up at 4:30, then my world's going wrong now. Something's the matter. And when my world's going wrong, life doesn't work for me. So it's very freeing. And I think as a parent, I look at my role as responsibility, and that frees me up massively from expectation, which leaves me able to enjoy in a different way. Whereas I find that sometimes when it comes to marriages, we look at that a little bit differently. And we don't look at the responsibility side as much of it, or we don't see it as full responsibility in the way we might as parents. We start to get expectations. And what happens is those expectations create limitations. And what we're going to kind of keep saying today is that expectations always bring limitations in their wake. They will limit any relationship that you're in. Now, I want to make it clear, so let me just say this one thing and then for sure. We're not saying don't have expectations or have expectations. We're not saying what's right or what's wrong for you. But what we want to kind of try and paint a picture for you is what relationships look like with expectations and what relationships look like without expectations. And you can kind of see what works better for you.